Hey, Steelers fans, let's dive into everything going on with our team right now. Because if you thought the season had been wild so far, buckle up, because we're just getting started. There's a lot to unpack, especially when it comes to some of the younger guys stepping up and showing that they belong in this league, and nobody embodies that more than Derek Harmon. The kid has this quiet confidence that just sticks with you. He doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, it's sharp, it's meaningful, and it carries weight. In a locker room that's seen its fair share of ups and downs this year, those moments of clarity stand out even more. Watching him handle himself after that game in Cleveland, sitting there by himself with Cam Hayward nearby, you could tell he was thinking beyond just the result on the scoreboard. We looked up and said, "We'll be ready." It wasn't bravado or empty words. It was a promise. He meant the next game, the next opportunity, the next chance to prove that setbacks don't define this team. And that mentality, it's something the Steelers desperately need right now. This team, from top to bottom, sometimes only reacts when the pressure hits just right. When they're comfortable, when they feel like the season has settled in, we see flashes of inconsistency that have become a pattern. But put them up against the wall, make them feel the heat, and suddenly they transform. Changes get made, plays get executed, and mistakes get corrected almost overnight. We've seen it multiple times this season. But the tricky part is that those moments of urgency come and go so quickly. And if there's one thing the Steelers seem to struggle with, it's maintaining that intensity consistently, especially when the chips are down against a team like the Ravens. History repeats itself in ways that are frustratingly familiar. Just like last year, just like the game in Cleveland, it feels like the team is on a tightrope, trying to balance fleeting success with the weight of past disappointments. Looking back at 2025, there are plenty of positives. There's talent, acquisitions that have really made a difference, and a few players who are quietly shaping up to be future stars. Harmon is one of those players, and it's exciting to see him find his footing in the NFL. He's got the skill set, the mindset, and the drive to become a cornerstone in Pittsburgh for years to come. But no matter how much you like the talent on this team or admire the work ethic of certain coaches, the recurring pattern can't be ignored. The Steelers have this cycle of building hope, achieving moments of success, and then watching it crumble when the pressure hits hardest. It's a cycle that's been going on for a long time, one that leaves fans simultaneously thrilled and frustrated, because no one is shocked anymore when things fall apart. We've seen it in playoff games, in critical regular season matchups, and even in moments that should feel like breakthroughs, but instead serve as reminders of the gaps that remain. And here's the thing. It's not about luck or lack of talent. It's about structure, mentality, and how the team responds to adversity. The moments when everything clicks, when the Steelers show what they're capable of, those are the times when they're forced to face pressure directly. That's when players like Harmon rise, when veterans step up, and when coaching adjustments finally seem to stick. But when things get comfortable, when they feel in control, we see the cracks appear. The Cleveland game earlier this year was a perfect example. Early defensive missteps, opportunities squandered on offense, and a sense that the team was hesitant to assert itself when it mattered most. Watching that unfold, it was hard to be surprised by the outcome. The signs were there from the first snap, and if you followed this team long enough, you know exactly what that feels like. It's frustrating because you want to see the growth, the resilience, the ability to finish strong. But time and again, the Steelers show us that they're still learning how to consistently handle those moments. Yet, in the middle of all this, there are sparks of brilliance that remind us why we care so deeply about this team. There are individual plays that make you jump out of your seat, moments when instinct, preparation, and talent collide. The game in Detroit, for instance, had some of those moments. Watching Kenny Gainwell make that unbelievable catch near the goal line, seeing the quarterback set up the play in a way that gave him the opportunity to shine, those are glimpses of what this team can achieve when things click. But those moments are rare. And in the modern NFL, you can't rely on flashes of genius alone. It takes structure, coordination, and discipline to consistently win. And that's been the challenge for Pittsburgh over the last several seasons. They have the raw tools, but translating that into sustained success has been elusive. The ongoing rivalry with the Ravens only intensifies all of this. No matter what happens elsewhere in the AFC North, it always comes back to these two teams facing off, often for everything at stake. The Steelers versus Ravens matchup carries weight, history, and the kind of pressure that magnifies every flaw and every strength. We've seen Pittsburgh respond under fire before, and we've seen them falter at crucial moments. Every year it feels like a reset, a chance to rewrite the ending, yet the patterns persist. This isn't just about one game or one season. It's about long-term trends, about the lessons learned or not learned, over multiple years of playoff disappointments and near misses. And while it's easy to focus on individual performances or recent results, the broader picture shows a team that's still grappling with how to consistently turn talent into victories when it counts most. That's why watching Harmon and players like him is so fascinating. They carry the promise of what could be, the hope that new energy and a fresh mindset can break the cycle. They remind fans that the Steelers' story is still being written, that despite recurring frustrations, there's room for growth and transformation. Yet, the question remains, can the team break free from these familiar patterns in time to capitalize on opportunities? Can they finally take the lessons from the past, combine them with emerging talent, and execute at the level needed to beat teams like the Ravens and push deep into the playoffs? That's what makes following this team so compelling. The mix of hope, tension, and the constant challenge of seeing if they can rise to the occasion when it matters most. Now, as we look ahead to this upcoming matchup against the Ravens, everything feels magnified. Every snap, every decision, every play is going to be scrutinized, and rightly so, because in this rivalry, nothing is ever small. Pittsburgh has shown flashes of brilliance this season, but what separates contenders from pretenders in this league is consistency, and that's where the Steelers have struggled. Watching the team navigate the highs and lows of 2025, it's clear that the resilience exists, but it's almost always reactive. They shine when forced into a corner, when the pressure hits hard enough that failure is not an option. But when things feel manageable, they tend to plateau, sometimes even slide backward. And in the NFL, especially in the playoffs, there's no room for that. The Ravens aren't going to hand anything over. And if Pittsburgh wants to come out on top, they'll have to bring intensity from the first whistle to the final snap. What's fascinating is watching the subtle ways leadership emerges on the field. Harmon, for example, may be quiet in demeanor, but he sets a tone simply by how he prepares, how he positions himself, and how he reacts under pressure. That kind of presence is infectious. Teammates notice it, they respond to it, and it shapes how the collective unit approaches the game. Then you have veterans who've been through the grind, who know what the spotlight feels like, and who understand that every mistake is amplified in games of this magnitude. The interplay between experienced leadership and youthful energy creates this dynamic tension that can either propel the team forward or, if mismanaged, exacerbate existing weaknesses. And in Pittsburgh's case, managing that balance has often been the difference between a promising season and a disappointing one. The offense, in particular, carries a tremendous weight on its shoulders. There are players capable of extraordinary plays, but execution under pressure is where games are won or lost. Watching past games this season, you notice moments where creativity and instinct could have turned the tide, yet the structure, the fear of deviation, or simply hesitation prevented it. Quarterbacks like Rodgers have the talent and vision to make things happen on their own, but the modern NFL is not a league where improvisation alone can carry a team. Every scheme, every route, every audible must fit into the broader game plan, and while there are glimpses of ingenuity, they're usually brief. That tension between what the quarterback wants to do instinctively and what the system dictates can create friction, and when the stakes are high, that friction becomes pressure. The key question is whether Pittsburgh can harness that pressure, channel it, and turn it into performance rather than letting it expose vulnerabilities. Defensively, the Steelers have been a model of resilience at times. They can stop the run, they can generate pressure, and they can make pivotal plays that swing momentum. But defense is about more than just talent. It's about cohesion, communication, and adaptability. Against a team like the Ravens, every assignment, every shift, every adjustment is critical. History shows that Baltimore is opportunistic, precise, and willing to exploit even the smallest mistakes. So Pittsburgh can't rely on reputation or past achievements. They have to perform at their peak, game after game, snap after snap. And that's the challenge that's defined their season and, to some degree, the past several years. The ability to maintain focus, to execute consistently, and to elevate performance when it matters most. The narrative of Steelers football in recent years has been defined by cyclical highs and lows. Exciting wins create optimism, while sudden defeats bring fans back to reality. But underneath those ups and downs, there's a constant, the search for identity, for a formula that can translate talent into consistent success. Coaching decisions, personnel moves, and individual performances all play into that equation. But at the end of the day, football is a team sport. It requires trust, communication, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. Pittsburgh has the pieces. They have the athletes, the schemes, and the strategic insight. What they need now is a level of execution and mental toughness that turns potential into results, that converts moments of brilliance into sustained excellence. And yet, despite all the analysis, all the patterns, all the history, there's still something compelling about this team. The unpredictability, the flashes of inspiration, the resilience in the face of adversity. These are qualities that keep fans engaged, that make every game an emotional roller coaster. Harmon embodies that spirit, but he's not alone. There are players across the roster who can change a game in an instant, who can defy expectations when called upon. But they need alignment. They need the whole system to operate at a high level, and that's the challenge. It's one thing to celebrate individual moments, to marvel at a catch, a run, or a defensive play. It's another to weave those moments into a coherent, season-long narrative that culminates in playoff victories, in success when it matters most. That's the ultimate test for the Steelers as 2026 approaches. Can they take the lessons learned, harness the talent on the roster, and finally execute with the precision and consistency required? And as fans, as observers, it's impossible not to feel both frustration and hope at the same time. The frustration comes from recognizing familiar patterns, from knowing that talent alone hasn't been enough, from remembering playoff heartbreaks that feel all too similar year after year. The hope comes from witnessing young players step up, from seeing veterans make pivotal plays, and from believing that with the right mindset and execution, the team can finally break free from the cycle. That tension, that duality, is what makes following the Steelers so compelling. Every game is a story, every snap has consequence, and every performance contributes to a larger narrative that has been decades in the making. The upcoming clash with the Ravens is just the next chapter, but it's a chapter that carries weight, history, and stakes that extend far beyond a single Sunday afternoon. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what is rapidly becoming one of the most talked about stories in the NFL, a leaked post-game injury report has sent shockwaves through the Steelers camp, raising serious questions about the team's playoff prospects. While the organization has remained tight-lipped, sources close to the matter suggest that the injury involves one of the team's cornerstone players, whose presence on the field has been pivotal to Pittsburgh's late-season surge. Speculation is swirling that the player in question, a figure widely regarded as both a locker room leader and a tactical game-changer, may be facing a significant setback just as the stakes reach their peak. Fans and analysts alike have noted that the timing couldn't be worse. The Steelers have been showing signs of cohesion on both sides of the ball, and losing a player of such impact could dramatically alter their strategic plans heading into the postseason. Inside sources indicate that the injury report details discomfort and limited mobility, though the specifics have not been officially confirmed. This has left the media and fan base in a state of anxious anticipation, dissecting every press conference and social media post for clues. The league, known for its rigorous health protocols and cautious approach to injury management, may be forced to make a tough call in balancing player safety with competitive urgency. Rumors are also circulating about potential contingency plans. Coaches may be weighing adjustments to both offensive schemes and defensive rotations, seeking to mitigate the absence should it be confirmed. Analysts have been quick to speculate on which players could step up, while also considering how opposing teams might exploit a weakened Steelers lineup. Even seasoned veterans admit that losing a core contributor at this stage could shift momentum in unexpected ways, turning what seemed like a smooth path into a high-stakes gamble. While nothing has been officially announced, the mere leak of the report has ignited debate across sports networks and fan forums. Some suggest the team may be downplaying the situation to avoid giving opponents an edge, while others warn that the implications of this injury could ripple far beyond the immediate lineup, affecting draft strategy, future contracts, and even coaching decisions. For now, all eyes remain on Pittsburgh. The uncertainty surrounding this key player's status has injected an unusual tension into the Steelers' playoff narrative, leaving fans clinging to hope and speculation alike. One thing is clear. The coming weeks could define not just the team's postseason ambitions, but also the legacy of the player at the center of this storm. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.